data on thousands of active home listings in Texas. We'll discuss this and more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. We'll also hear a conversation with Texas Agricultural Commissioner Sid Miller, who discusses the screwworm threat, his re-election campaign, and more.
Plus, Amy Hufnagel, Executive Director of ACE Mentor Program Houston, will tell us all about their free after-school mentoring program that educates high school students about careers in agriculture, construction, and engineering.
And as always, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. A new NPR PBS News Marist poll shows President Trump's immigration and enforcement tactics are widely unpopular. 2/3 say federal law enforcement agents have gone too far, and that's up significantly since last summer. 61% disapprove of ICE, and 62% think it's making Americans less safe. NPR's Domenico Montanaro has more.
His approval is just 39%, with 30% of independents approving, and they're always key in those swing districts. His approval rating has now been below 40% in the Marist poll since November. On the economy, which is what got Trump reelected in the first place, 6 in 10 disapprove.
NPR's Domenico Montanaro. This comes on the heels of the shooting deaths of 2 U.S. citizens by ICE agents in Minneapolis. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has apologized to victims of the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Starmer's name isn't in the Epstein files, but the name of a man he appointed as former ambassador to the U.S. appears more than 5,000 times, and that's raising questions about Starmer's judgment. NPR's Lauren Frayer has more from London.
In a speech in southeast England, Prime Minister Starmer addressed Epstein's victims.
I am sorry
that so many people in power failed them, he said. Starmer admits he knew Peter Mandelson was still friends with the convicted sex offender Epstein, but says Mandelson lied about the extent. The D.C. ambassador has since resigned, but now there are calls for the Prime Minister's ouster, too, even from within his own party. Starmer insists he will stay on.
This is not and must never become a political game.
His Labour Party has been lagging in opinion polls amid growing support for the far right. Lauren Frayer, NPR News, London.
A Trump administration proposal to end the government's Energy Star efficiency program has failed. NPR's Jeff Brady reports President Trump's proposed budget would have zeroed out the program, but instead Congress has increased funding.
Energy Star awards its blue and white logo to the most efficient appliances and buildings. For the first time, Congress specifically instructed that just over $33 million be spent on the program. Previously, the specific amount was left to the White House's discretion. Jeremy Simons is with the Environmental Protection Network.
The Energy Star program's not fully out of the woods yet. It's one thing to keep the Energy Star program alive and fully funded. What we really need is for the program to be fully staffed.
The Environmental Protection Agency didn't answer questions about staffing plans. Much of Energy Star's workers have retired, left, or were reassigned during the Trump administration's government reorganization. Jeff Brady, NPR News.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Houston Mayor John Whitmire and City Controller Chris Hollins clashed yesterday as 3 city departments are on track to exceed their overtime budgets. Hollins projects overtime spending in the police, fire, and solid waste departments will come in more than $50 million over budget. News 88.7's Dominic Anthony Walsh reports the overage comes as the city faces a ballooning budget deficit.
Hollins points out the overtime spending so far this year is actually in line with the previous 5 years, but the administration presented an overly optimistic budget last year.
We're now looking at draining our fund balance an additional $50+ million because we'd rather ignore basic facts than make hard decisions.
Whitmire points out year-to-year spending is trending down as departments look to cut back on overtime.
And there's a lot of good news coming out of each of the departments, and we will have a balanced budget without raising taxes this spring.
He said the same thing last year. There was no tax hike, but the city now faces a $127 million deficit. I'm Dominic Anthony Walsh, News 88.7.
The Texas Education Agency is outlining consequences for school districts and teachers that facilitate student walkouts or protests. That includes a potential state takeover of the district and revoking a teacher's license. The move comes after Governor Greg Abbott called for investigations into, quote, inappropriate political activism in schools. Adam Goldenstein with the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression calls the situation complicated.
What made me uncomfortable was that these things are being tangled together. The important message of students should be in school during the school day, and the other message of students should also understand how they can use their voice to protest effectively.
Student protests against immigration and customs enforcement have been on the rise across the state. And in sports, former Houston Astros pitcher Framber Valdez has officially signed with another team. He's signed a 3-year, $115 million contract with the Detroit Tigers. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Capital One, offering their premium travel card, Venture X. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870. Or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
And good morning, Houston, or should I say hello, Houston.
Good morning, Houston.
Good morning. Frank has the day off, so it's just the two of us.
Hi.
I don't think you'll miss him. We're going to be full of joy and excitement. You won't even notice a full thing. And our friends are all lining up over on YouTube. The YouTubers are there. Already a group of them are in there chatting. If you haven't joined the YouTube channel, please do. There's great conversation that goes on there. And they're really a great group of folks. And they have a lot to say. And they have their own little conversation going on as the whole show goes on.
Yeah, and we just appreciate if you're tuning in through 88.7 or, like as Ernie said, you're part of our YouTube community. We know that there's a lot to do in this city, and last night we were all busy.
That's for sure. It's rare that we're both invited to similar things and we couldn't go to everything. So we divided and conquered.
Yes.
Where did you go? What did you do?
So I was at the Houston Junior League last night at the San Jacinto Girl Scout Just Desserts event. Now, this is something you have been a judge for before. This was my first time, and it was incredible. So they take local area chefs and they pair up a Girl Scout who's the chef assistant to the chef, and they make a dessert based on one of the Girl Scout cookies. Mm-hmm. And they pair it up, and it was phenomenal. And so then the celebrity judges get paired up with a Girl Scout who's been a Girl Scout for, a couple of years. My Girl Scout was incredible. And Ethar, shout out to Ethar, and she's a veteran. And so you go around and then you taste all the desserts. Yeah. And then you judge them on most creative, best presentation. It was so cool.
Before you get into what they did with them, at the top, what is your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
There's Samoas or the Caramel Delights.
Yeah.
I love it. And the chef paired it up with ice cream and made this salted caramel ice cream with coconut flakes inside of it. And he made it out of nitrogen. It was delicious.
Yeah.
I mean, I did not have dinner last night.
You didn't need to.
Just so I could have dessert.
You could eat those.
It was phenomenal. I really, truly was impressed with the organization in general. Just Girl Scouts. We all know Girl Scouts, and we think Girl Scout cookies, but really what they do is just incredible.
And this event each year is to launch that Girl Scout cookie sales are beginning. So you're going to be seeing them around there. It's your time to follow. We're going to be talking about our current obsessions, and a lot of people are obsessed with Girl Scout cookies.
Obsessed with Girl Scout cookies. And Ernie, I am so sorry. The wonderful team of the Phoenicia table at Phoenicia Foods sent you some cookies this morning. And you know what I did?
Ate them all?
I forgot them.
I think so,
but I just shout out to everybody at that event last night. It was phenomenal.
It's great.
And for an incredible cause. These girls are awesome.
And while you were doing that,
tell us what you were doing.
We were launching the Gold Buckle Awards, which are, and this is one of my favorite events every year too. It's at the rodeo. You know, we give a lot of prizes at the rodeo for art, for cattle, for all of this. But you know what they don't always award? It's all that great carnival food. It's all of those vendors that come and are creative and everything from corn dogs to pizzas to fried foods. Well, they have a competition every year. In the past, we all come together and we judge those foods. Well, we had an event last night to launch the season. We'll be judging in early March. But they want you to judge too. So there's a place for you as a listener, as a viewer, to go and look at the different food items and vote on what are your favorites, and you get to participate in it. So anyone who likes, I was going to say junk food, because it's still to me, it's junk food, but I love it. It's what I live on. You can go to, and we helped you out here because the actual link is hard. It is tinyurl.com/rodeo foodie, one word, rodeo foodie, FOODIE. Go there. It'll link you right over to the actual place where you can vote on your favorite foods. And then Celeste and I and Frank will be part of the celebrity panel judging these foods in early March. But it was a lot of fun. It was held at Mostly Chocolate and Catering, and we got to do a chocolate tasting. While you were eating Girl Scouts cookies, I know. I was eating chocolate.
Here we are. But you know, Ernie, I want to go back to the word that you said. You said junk food. And it's funny because I think growing up, we used to call that type of stuff junk food because we ate it all the time.
We used to just call it food.
Now it's a treat. You know, last night when I was eating the cookies and things, and I was thinking about that, we've become such a health conscious society. You know, everything is so, well, maybe protein, and we've talked about it a lot on the show, Hello Houston. But to have a treat, it's to go to the rodeo and have the Frito pie.
You know, for me, every year at the rodeo, the thing I look for, and we always talk about, we'll be doing rodeo shows from there this year too, but it's the frozen cheesecake on a stick, dumped in chocolate, covered in nuts. Every year, I have to seek that out and eat it. Trust me, I don't eat it every day, but that's
you think about it all year.
Oh, I do. It's like I have it every day. So that was keeping us busy. Celeste, what's the weather like?
Well, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful day to have your 10-year-old birthday.
I forgot it's Evelyn's.
It's Evelyn's birthday.
She's 10. I saw some pictures this morning. You started off with a group of kids at your house.
I had 5 little 10-year-old girls surprise Evelyn this morning. We got donuts that said, "Happy birthday, Evelyn." And she was like, oh my God. I think she was just like, what is happening? Yeah. Why are my friends in my kitchen at 7 a.m. in the morning? And I was like, you're going to enjoy this because I've been up for a very long time.
Well, we'll want a recap of how the whole birthday went tomorrow. But we've got a big show for you today. Texas Agricultural Commissioner Sid Miller will be here. We're going to talk with the folks over at ACE. They're doing some wonderful stuff out in the community. Super Bowl is coming this weekend, so we're going to have a little preview of what you can expect both from the commercials and even maybe the halftime show. And as we mentioned, it's our current obsession, so start sharing them, sending them in to us. You can call or text 713-440-8870. Those are the things that keep you obsessed, keep you up at night, that you have to read one more chapter of this book, or you've got to finish this film, or you're streaming this series and you've got to finish it all. Tell us, what's taking up all of your time? What's been taking up a lot of our time lately is the news. So, Celeste, start us off with headlines.
The Houston Chronicle reports that the Houston Association of Realtors, or HAR, has halted a 2-year effort to publish detailed flood risk information on thousands of home listings across Texas. The plan would have added flood risk scores to HAR.com, one of the state's most widely used real estate search sites. But the project was scrapped last year after some realtors pushed back, concerned the data could deter buyers from higher risk properties. The debate mirrors a broader national conversation. Home search platforms are under growing pressure to show climate and disaster risks up front. Supporters say transparency helps buyers avoid costly surprises, while critics argue the models aren't precise and could hurt sales. Would knowing a home's flood risk up front change your decision to buy or sell a house? And do you think that this kind of information should be required on real estate listings? I have one more question for you.
Okay.
Is flood risk data a consumer protection, right? We're looking out for the consumer. Or is that an unfair red flag? We want to hear from you. Would this affect you as a buyer, seller, or renter? Join us, 713-440-8870.
I'm going to start right off with knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Everything should be up front. we were talking about this in our morning meeting, and Jack, our head of content, was saying, well, you should ask that question. Yeah, and if you can ask that question, why not just put it there? It's just as important as all the other elements of a property. It's the most major investment any individual will make for the most part.
Yeah.
And you should know up front. And I think more the deterring factor is how the rest of the industry reacts around notifying people of this. So it makes it harder then for insurances. It makes it more difficult when you want to improve the properties and all of that. People don't want to give loans to these kind of property. I think we should re-explore how we react to that, because especially in Houston, we're almost all in some sort of a floodplain.
Yeah.
But I think, I think it kind of smells a little funky here to say we're going to hide because it is hiding information. It's information that is available. I think a consumer should know. When I was buying my property, I looked at that. I looked at, well, is it in a floodplain? Is it not? But what's the value of the house? What's the history of that neighborhood? Did it flood even if it's in the plain? So I could make an educated decision. But I think consumers should know. Thoughts?
713-440-8870. You're listening to Hello Houston. Let's go to Marissa from Clear Lake. Marissa, what are your thoughts on this?
Hi, good morning. Yes, I am a real estate broker of 10 years in the Houston area. I was born and raised in Clear Lake, and I know this debate very well. So I saw this tool being released last year. The problem that I think a lot of real estate professionals have is that this tool was not reliable. It was not. It was misleading in some cases, and it was not based in facts or in data that could be supported in many cases. So the argument that I think a lot of realtors was making is that it was harming potential sales on the seller side. Now, I do agree that transparency is it's something that should be provided to the consumer. And I think that this argument has been mischaracterized and it's been spun to make it seem like realtors don't want transparency for buyers. And I just don't think that's the case. I think it's more so that the data was unreliable and sometimes incorrect. And I think that was the issue.
When you put together a one sheet about a property and you're giving the information, do you include that from your own research on it, or do you leave that off?
I absolutely 100% include that for any buyer that I'm showing a property to. And what I do is I go to FEMA's flood maps, which is a tool that's still available and it's linked on HAR. But I pull up the property's flood risk and flood zone from FEMA directly. And then what I'll do is I'll reach out to an insurance agent or an insurance broker and gather different quotes on that property and present it to my buyer so that they can make an informed and educated decision based on actual data and numbers, instead of a tool that is more than likely, and I could be misspeaking here, but I would assume it's some sort of, algorithm or AI-based data-driven program that they're using. So,
Marissa, thank you for calling, and may all realtors be this conscientious when they're working on a property and sharing it with people.
Yeah, and I think Marissa brings up a great point, right? All of this is essentially doing is shifting the responsibility. So, for example, in our prior conversation of the show, we were discussing that essentially it should be the responsibility of somebody who's going to be buying a home to do their due diligence, to obviously ask these questions. Was this on a floodplain? What is this look like, climate regards for my home and for this major investment I'm about to do? But that's also just assuming that most people have the capacity to do that and understand that you have to
I like
ask
the term wherewithal.
wherewithal to do that.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I think we assume media literacy, or we assume financial literacy, and people have bank accounts and do most of the time that might not be the case.
Right.
This might be the first time somebody is buying a home. And so I think that it shifts the responsibility onto, as Marissa was basically alluding to, what I heard, was then you have to find a good real estate agent who's going to be out looking for your best interests.
And I'm going to flip a little bit about what Marissa said about, she doesn't know where this information was coming from if it was AI generated. I'm going to take the opposite approach. Now with AI tools and such, we can maybe get more accurate information about what it means to be in this floodplain, what's the history and all that. I think transparency needs to be there. I would love to see a tool that actually tells you on listings about it. But if it's not an accurate tool, then it does more harm than good.
And that's, I guess, the question is, again, where does the responsibility fall on the transparency? Is that falling on these search engines? Should it be falling on the real estate?
I think it's a good idea, maybe a bad in practice.
Yeah.
713-440-8870. Karen from Humble is on the line. Karen, what are your thoughts?
Hi. My thought is I live out in Humble, as you mentioned, and we didn't really flood in Harvey, but we were flooded in Harvey. So I think the transparency issue is paramount to all areas.
Yep. I agree with you 100%, Karen. I think also that brings in history, that we need to look at the history of the area and that should be readily available. When I bought my property, I had already lived in it for 5 years. I bought a place I was renting, so I kind of knew what was there.
And it sounds like the argument real estate agents are making is that, yes, you want the information, you want the data, but when the data and information is outdated and you're going to a search engine and it doesn't have the correct numbers, it can confuse and throw everything off.
Another thing that was brought up to me by, maybe it was my real estate agent, was the fact that with all of the infrastructure changes happening in the city, what was a floodplain may not be, and what wasn't may have become. And so you're not always sure. And so to rely on something that is generated in an ad and think that's the gospel truth, once again, what we're talking about, you got to do your due diligence. 713-440-8870. Robert from Southwest Houston. What's on your mind, Robert?
I just want to advocate for transparency, but I know it gets complicated. But again, you have folks that are in the profession that should be on top of this all the way. When you hire, if you get a mortgage, you can bet the mortgage company and the title company are going to do the homework on that because that's what they do all day, every day. Most folks buy a house once, maybe twice in their lifetimes. They're not the experts, and they need to rely on the experts. But that information should be published. The real estate agency and industry has long protected information. They've tried to be the gatekeepers of information to justify their fees. And with today's technology, they're rapidly losing that grip. And this is just one more piece of information they'd like to hold on to or make sure that it's less accessible for the public. So just put it out there. It's going to get qualified when you get your mortgage anyway. But if you're shopping, you'd like to know your floodplain. What's also readily available that can also be put up is our crime statistics for the area. That's readily available now, and people should look at that and have that publicized too.
Thank you very much, Robert, for that. We had a YouTube comment that said, in a city that floods as often as Houston, I feel like, quote, does this area flood is one of the first questions any home buyer in the area should ask.
But again, 713-440-8870. And we have another call.
Frederick is on the line right now from Northwest Houston. Frederick, what's on your mind?
Yes, I think the realtor you just had on was being a little bit disingenuous. There are multiple things to disclose. Floodplain is one, but of course floodplains don't, these floods, most notably Harvey, but many others, don't respect the floodplain boundaries. So a history of whether a house is flooded, there should be no second thought as to whether that should be disclosed to buyers. And of course, realtors earn their fee from the sellers, not from the buyers. So they're, as a buyer, I would say buyer beware and get as much information as you possibly can and rigorously ask questions.
Yeah. Frederick, thank you very much for that. It makes me think, these comments, what folks are saying, I would just assume if you're buying a property in Houston, you should be concerned with flooding. Because with all the construction and all rerouting and the highway builds and the buildings and the concrete being poured every single day, this plane is shifting. We need to be building homes that are flood protected. We need to be looking at the areas we're in. And I think, to have the false security of a guide that says this area floods, this area doesn't, makes you think if you're buying in a home in an area that doesn't flood. Well, Walt, my partner, has lived in a home for 30 years, never flooded. until the last couple of years because of all the construction that's happened downtown.
That's happening around him.
So, yeah, I think it's a false sense of security, but also we should all be prepared for flooding.
That's right. And we want to thank you for joining us on Hello Houston. But coming up on Hello Houston, I sat down with Texas Agricultural Commissioner Sid Miller. We discussed his upcoming re-election campaign, and we also discussed the screwworm threat. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Metro is introducing a brand new fare system to the Houston region. Say hello to the Ride Metro fare card. It's the new way to ride. The Ride Metro fare system will replace the old Metro Q fare card and will make buying your bus and train fares easier than ever before. You'll be able to buy Ride Metro cards at all Metro ride stores, ticket vending machines, order online, and from a growing network of retailers throughout the region. When it comes to moving about Houston, we want you to choose Metro. Visit ridemetro.org/fare system.
On the middle class has long been seen as the backbone of the American economy, a marker of stability, opportunity, and upward mobility. But rising costs, stagnant wages, and economic uncertainty have many Americans asking, what is the middle class in 2026, and is it still achievable? That's our question next time on The Middle.
You can hear that tonight at 8 o'clock. Support comes from Theater Under the Stars and the Broadway musical $1 Million Quartet, featuring the music of Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Carl Perkins. February 17th through March 1st at the Hobby Center. Tickets at tuts.org. Houston Public Media presents the Moth Story Slam February 10th at Warehouse Live Midtown. Doors open at 7 p.m. The theme of the night is Love Hurts. Stories about a love that made you go ouch. Tickets at houstonpublicmedia.org/themoth. Support comes from Base Power. As hurricane season approaches, Base Power offers energy plans to Texans with home backup for outages and fixed energy rates. Eligibility details at basepowercompany.com/NPR. Support comes from ROCO, presenting Do You Hear What I Hear? Celebrating America's 250th birthday. Anthony Parnther debuts, leading Dvorak's New World Symphony and more. February 7th at St. John the Divine. ROCO.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller joins me today. His office touches everyday issues Texans care about: the health of livestock, the safety of our food, water availability, and what we are paying at the grocery store. As Miller runs for another term and the race for Agriculture Commissioner gets underway, we'll start with how the state is preparing for disease threats, managing growing water pressures, and addressing food affordability. Commissioner Miller, welcome to Hello Houston.
It's good to be with you this morning. Thank you very much.
You know, Commissioner, I want to start with an issue that directly affects ranchers and food safety: the New World screwworm. How is the Texas Department of Agriculture assisting state and federal efforts in surveillance and preparation?
Mm-hmm. Well, surveillance, let's tackle that one right off the bat. So I run biosecurity for the state. We keep the state safe from any invasive pest, diseases, bacteria, viruses, anything like that. So we're kind of tip of the spear when it comes to protecting against the New World screwworm. So I have traps, surveillance traps set up and down the Rio Grande. So we will trap these flies and we will know when they are here. Mm-hmm. I got to thinking the most likely way we're to get the screwworm is from hitchhiking flies. So I've also put traps around the cruise ship terminals in Galveston and Corpus Christi because those ships go right down where the heaviest infestation of these screwworm flies are. No. So we're doing it through surveillance, working with federal and international partners. About a month ago, I hosted Mexican officials, officials from all 11 Central American countries in my office. I shared research with them where there has been a fly bait developed that will kill 95% of these flies. They were elated. They'd been trying to develop one. They didn't know about this research. So hopefully we can get some fly bait out and get immediate action on it. Right now, the only method we are using is sterile male flies. The flies mate one time, so if you can get them to mate with a sterile fly, the eggs will be also sterile. We haven't had, it's very slow and very expensive. We don't have enough of those flies. USDA has allocated money to build a new fly facility, but we're probably 3 years down the road, and that's not going to be soon enough. So we need some alternative means to control this invasive pest.
So how real is the risk of Texas livestock if the screwworm re-enters the state? How risky is that?
Well, it can be devastating. We have over a $30 billion livestock industry, so that's all in jeopardy. But on top of that, it's much broader. Texas has over 200 species of mammals in it, and all mammals can be affected, including wildlife. We have 5,000 deer in Texas, so those are kind of hard to treat. Pets can get it, so even the homeowner that's not involved in agriculture needs to be aware of this. There's 18 human cases in Mexico, 2 deaths. So no one is really immune. So we all kind of need to be on our. Now I don't want to alarm everybody because we do not have it yet, even though the governor issued a emergency disaster for the New World screwworm. It's kind of puzzling, but if you understand that's preemptive, that gives state agencies like myself quick reaction to skip all the long, drawn-out paperwork that takes days or weeks. So now we can move rapidly if we do have an infection.
I want to move to the Texas water crisis, and Texas is facing a looming water crisis that impacts both fast-growing cities and agriculture. From your perspective, how serious is this moment for the state?
This is very serious. It's something that I've been telling Texans, for 10 years. For the longest, I was the only state official declaring Texas is out of water. The legislature finally realized that and passed some good legislation. They're going to spend at least $1 billion a year for the next 10 years. Cities like Houston, large cities, from the time they receive their water till they deliver it to their customers, are losing 30%. That's an infrastructure problem. That's the quickest way to get more water is quit losing it. So we can gain 30% more water just by fixing infrastructure. Rural parts of the state are much worse. Their infrastructure is much older. It's harder for them to find the funds to replace that. So this is going to be much needed relief for that. We have over 20 cities in Texas now using desal. None of them are on the coast. They are taking brackish water and cleaning it up. City of Granbury, Texas, Lake Granbury is too salty to use for drinking water or for irrigation. So they put in a desal plant. It's not as salty as the ocean, so it makes it more affordable. So we're using desal. The fracking oil and gas industry is not using near as much fresh water anymore. They're recycling. They're using brackish water. They're allowing their produced water that comes out of the wells once they're producing to be used for irrigation water. So we're tackling it on many, many fronts.
Are there policies at the state level that you believe need to change now to prevent long-term harm to Texas agriculture when we're looking at the water crisis?
Yes. We have a problem with AI data centers taking up not only large amounts of water, but large amounts of our most fertile farmland and electricity and driving electricity rates up. So we got a problem there. There's no oversight. There's no regulation. There's no organization. They can just pop up. And you could kind of throw solar farms and data mining centers in the same group. Since they're mostly located in counties don't have any ordinance-making authority. So it's just kind of the wild, wild west. I'm not one that likes more regulation. I believe in giving, incentives. So I came up with a proposal to create agriculture freedom zones. And through these freedom zones, if you would locate in one of those, our less productive land, arid land, brown fields, anywhere but our most fertile land, we will give you incentives like deferred capital gains, accelerated depreciation, and that would move them out of our fertile land. Now, we do have a way to eliminate the use of water and large amounts of electricity. They're called SMRs. They'll be coming on the soon very quick. They're nuclear reactors, small modular reactors, similar but not the same that we use on our submarines and aircraft carriers. These are much, much safer, even though we've never had an accident in 60 years that we've used those. So those can be installed below ground, out of sight, and they will actually generate enough electricity. These data centers can put electricity back on the grid, which would be very, very, we need a little extra. Yeah. And they don't have to use water to be cooled. They can be cooled with hydrogen or liquid salt. So that would eliminate all three problems with these data centers and solar farms and crypto mines.
Another concern that remains for many Texans is food affordability. What specific steps can the state take to strengthen agriculture while also helping bring down grocery prices?
Well, we've had some experience of that. We had the egg crisis, just as eggs got to an all-time high, just as Donald Trump took office. I made a visit to Washington, D.C., sat down with Secretary Brooke Rollins, who's from Texas, and I told her, I said, we have secured 700 containers of eggs from Turkey. And, if you want to lower the price of eggs, go get some more eggs. And these were at a very reasonable price, and almost immediately when we did that, we saw the price of eggs come down. Now, we can produce eggs real quick and chicken real quick, but the problem is beef, high prices of beef.
Correct.
So the president's remedy was to buy quadruple the amount of beef we're getting from Argentina.
Right.
It's the only time I've disagreed with him, but I had to contact him and say, whoa, this is a problem because we already have an agriculture trade deficit of $50 billion. We're buying $50 billion more food than we're selling. And this makes that problem worse. And to solve the beef shortage, we need more cattle, more mama cows. I said, to do that, let's open up federal grazing lands. Under the Biden administration, because of his, Green New Deal, they kicked all the ranchers off federal land. So there's 24 million acres of land idle. I said, open up some of that land so we'll have a place to go with our cows during the drought. We won't have to sell them. We could retain heifers and have a place to graze them. So they took that almost immediately. Secretary Doug Burgum immediately opened up 5 million acres to grazing for our ranchers. So that's helped retain the cattle herd. I said, also you could do a heifer retention tax credit. Pay that farmer, I don't know, $500 for every heifer he'll keep back and grow the herd. They could use a tax deduction. They're making a little money. So they haven't done that yet. And then I told him, if you really want to lower the price of beef overnight, open the Texas-Mexican border to the 1,200,000 head that are waiting to get in. We actually get 15% of our cattle herd from Mexico. They walk in on the hoof. They graze our wheat, graze our hay meadows, go into our feedlots, and we turn that into beef and sell it back to Mexico. But since the new world screwworm we just talked about, that border has been shut down. So that has exasperated the cattle shortage. You have to be very careful of opening that border because you could actually crash the market. It has to be opened in a very wise, systematic way.
Interesting. So, Commissioner Miller, what's the biggest misconception Texans have about why food prices remain high?
Well, I think they think that farmers get subsidies. We haven't done farm subsidies in about 30 years. We used to do that, paying farmers not to farm and stuff like that. It was not the best way to do it, in my opinion. We have graduated to allowing farmers to buy crop insurance. So to keep from going out of business, farmers are allowed to, through the federal government's help. They don't subsidize the farmers. They do subsidize the insurance companies some. To ensure they stay in business, they can purchase crop insurance, and most do. Matter of fact, most bankers require them to carry some insurance on their crop. It's a wise business move. Yeah. So I think that's a misconception. Everywhere I go, why are these farmers getting all the subsidies? Well, wait a minute. We don't subsidize farmers. They buy crop insurance now, have been for 30 years. So I think that's probably the biggest misconception.
When you look at these challenges, disease threats, water scarcity, food cost, what do you see as the Agriculture Commissioner's most important responsibility? What keeps you up at night?
Other than greasy Mexican food, probably the fact that we have a $50 billion agriculture trade deficit. We've never had that before. I mean, America's always been the breadbasket of the world. We feed ourselves and a lot of other people around the world. But the previous administration did not sign one contract. We did not pick up any new customers, and we lost all our old customers. So we're working real hard to turn that around, because if we're dependent on a foreign nation or nations to feed us, that's when our freedoms are in jeopardy. They have full control of you if you can't eat unless they tell you you can eat. So we've got to get out of that situation. My office, we have scheduled 45 international trade missions in the next 12 months. Currently, I have a team in Dubai, I have a team in Oman, and I have a team in Mexico City with Texas companies, Texas agriculture companies, opening up markets for our products. About 2 months ago, we secured the cooperation and agreement with Taiwan to buy $10 billion extra farm products from Texas and the United States. So immediately we dropped it from 50 to 40. So I think that's the most crucial thing that we can work on right now. There's a lot of other crucial things. If you're in the cotton industry, it's a cotton insect they're worried about. If it's in the rice industry, it's another insect in the rice industry. If it's the shrimp industry, they're worried about foreign imports, killing their market. If it's sugarcane, they need water in South Texas. So there's a lot of, number one, problems depending on what section of agriculture you're involved in.
Commissioner, as we enter the Texas primaries coming up in March, Governor Abbott recently endorsed your Republican primary challenger instead of you, a rare move for a governor. How do you interpret that decision?
Well, the governor, I like the governor. Apparently, he does not like me. He recruited this candidate to run against me. He recruited the last two before that. So it wasn't a surprise to me. Mm-hmm. But I challenge the governor when I think he's wrong. I actually sued the governor during COVID when he tried to add a third week to early voting. He didn't have the authority to do that. Only the legislature can change election law. I got him pretty hard when he shut down the border to inspect trucks. We lost $3 billion worth of produce and products. We had American trucks in Mexico that couldn't get out. So we had that disagreement. But look, any other official, if I think they're wrong, I'm going to call them out on it and see if we can get it corrected. So I would never do that to him. I thought that was kind of a low blow. But he's a grown man and do what he wants to do. But we're doing well. We're heading the polls. The people really like me because I get more votes than Greg Abbott. You can check the last election.
What do you think, though, this says about your relationship with Republican leaderships within the state?
Well, I think we have a really good relationship. We got, with our last legislative session, every one of our legislative requests was granted. Mm-hmm. And they even sent us an extra $100 million that we didn't ask for to improve and stabilize and expand our young farmer program. We didn't even ask for that. So I don't think they're mad at us. They think we're doing a very good job. Matter of fact, the Sunset Commission said that we're the best run agency in the state that they've ever reviewed. So I'll take a lot of pride in my people for making that happen.
And when the governor specifically endorsed your opponent, he said he suggested that Texans need a commissioner focused squarely on agriculture and accountability. How do you respond to that characterization of your tenure?
Well, let me just tell you, this office has typically been a stepping stone for previous commissioners. Rick Perry to run for lieutenant governor and president. Susan Combs used it for a launching pad for comptroller. I'm the ag commissioner. I'm not running for anything else. It's my duty to be the best ag commissioner Texas has ever had. I work hard at it. I'm not looking to rung up the ladder. My job is to serve the farmers, ranchers, and protect the consumers of Texas. And I get up every morning and look in the mirror and realize I am the ag commissioner and the duties and responsibilities fall solely on me. And so that's my attitude. I'm totally dedicated. I want to be the best ag commissioner Texas has ever had. So that I'm not focused on what I'm doing, I totally disagree with that. I'm totally focused on what I'm doing. I wouldn't have 45 trade missions around the world. That takes focus.
Are you expecting an endorsement from President Trump?
Sure, and I'll announce that at the proper time. Today's not the time.
Looking back at your time
I will say about that, I've received endorsements in my last election for Trump, one before that. Donald Trump has called me Trump's man in Texas. I got appointed to the Agriculture Advisory Committee, co-chair. I assembled that committee. I advise the president. I'm personal friends with Scott Turner, the Secretary of HUD, Bobby Kennedy. I'm part of the MAHA movement. I was there when we unfolded the food pyramid. Brooke Rollins grew up 25 miles from my house. Personal friends with Kristi Noem and Doug Burgum. So I have a great working relationship with Stephen Miller. He helped me, represented me in my lawsuit against the Biden administration. We won that. Peter Navarro has become a very good friend of mine. So the Trump administration and I get along great.
Then is there a genuine policy disagreement between you and the governor when it comes to agriculture, or do you believe this is strictly politics?
I think it's strictly personal with him in politics. It's not for me. I actually think the governor does a pretty good job. But if we have a disagreement, I think I have a duty as a strong voice for agriculture to stand up for agriculture and tell him I think he's wrong, especially if we lose $3 billion worth of agriculture products.
Given looking at the endorsement, what is your message to Republican primary voters who are weighing leadership loyalty against experience?
Well, we've got, I've got 150 endorsements. I've got lots of endorsements. I mean, I even got my opponent has a, experience, his only ag experience. I mean, he's never planted or cultivated or harvested a crop or worked cattle or, he's never even lived on a farm. But he has bottled honey. And it's kind of ironic that the Texas Beekeepers Association, his association, industry association, endorsed me, and had 7 honey companies come up and endorse me. I mean, so his own industry doesn't like him very much. You can ask him why that is. But I think we're doing well. I think we're ahead in the polls. We're working hard. Our fundraising is going well. So I feel pretty good about this election. It'll be 30 days.
And if reelected, what is your vision for agriculture in Texas?
Well, I've kind of gone over that. We want to lower this ag trade deficit. We continue to work on the tariffs. We've got a new farm bill to create. I'm fighting the cotton jassid, the rice delph citrus canker here in the Houston area. We took out 35 trees last week. We've got the swine flu, the bird flu, screwworms. We've got the sugarcane industry to bring back. We're doing that. Our shrimp industry needs a lot of help. We've got plans to fix that. I have created a mental health hotline for farmers that's working great. We've saved the lives of 300 farmers with that so far, but we want to expand that to every state in the union. So there's no shortage of things left for me to do. I could go on and on, but you kind of get the drift that I'm busy.
Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller. Commissioner Miller, thank you so much for joining me today on Hello Houston.
Thank you.
You just heard my conversation recorded earlier this week with Texas Agricultural Commissioner Sid Miller, who is running to secure the Republican nomination in the March primary election. I will be speaking with Nate Sheets, his challenger, next week. But coming up, we will be joined by the ACE Mentor Program, and we're going to learn about the fantastic things they're doing within our city. We'll be back after this break.
Houston, say hello to the Ride Metro Fare Card. It's the new way to ride. The Ride Metro Fare System will replace the old Metro Q Fare Card and will make buying your bus and train fares easier than ever before. Visit ridemetro.org/fare system.
No joy, no excitement.
Join us for stories of audacity and daring from around the world. That's on the Moth Radio Hour from PRX.
You can hear it Saturday at noon on News 88.7.
President Trump is shifting his tone on Minneapolis after another shooting by federal agents. The president and his border czar, Tom Homan, are signaling that de-escalation is underway, but can they relieve the tension the nation is feeling at a crucial moment for this presidency? We're going to dive into that question and a whole lot more. Hope you'll join me, David Green, also Mo Lathy and Will Swaim for the next Left, Right, and Center.
You can hear it Sunday at 5 p.m. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Baylor College of Medicine. With 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Metro. Introducing the Ride Metro Fare Card. The Ride Metro Fare System replaces the Metro Q Fare Card for bus and rail fares. Details at ridemetro.org/fare system.
now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
ACE Mentor Program is a free, nationwide after-school mentoring program that aims to educate high school students about careers in agriculture, construction, and engineering, hence the ACE in its name. On Saturday, ACE Houston will host their 13th annual Build It Forward event, which will bring together over 200 students, mentors, volunteers, and community partners, all for the single goal of building 40 twin-size beds that will be donated to those in need. To tell us more about the program and the upcoming event, please welcome Amy Hufnagel, Executive Director of ACE Mentor Program Houston. Amy, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
If folks want to join in the conversation, give us a call, 713-440-8870. You know, Amy, we often hear about STEM, and we hear about those programs, but I love the idea of ACE because it's architecture, construction, and engineering. Talk about why that's important.
It's so important because this is a passion-driven industry that needs more young people to get into it. We need people to design the world around us and build the world around us. And if we don't tell young people about these great career paths, and there's so many different ones, you know, they may not pursue them. So we're here to do that. And the biggest piece is connecting them with that industry directly. So the people they work with, the volunteers in our program, are people giving their time to share their story, to talk about what they're working on today, so the young people can hear it directly from them and have an advocate for them in the industry.
Which is interesting, right? Because so many times when we look at these programs, we think volunteers, but this is a mentorship program. Talk to us about what the difference is between just having people come in and volunteer versus a true mentor.
Yes, mentoring is not always easy. It takes time. That is the biggest thing, time and effort, because we want them building a relationship, getting to know these young people, and vice versa. We want our high school students to know they have someone in their court as they're exploring anything that could come after high school who can help them get into this industry and find the right spot for them. But similarly, for people who are currently in the industry, they need to be thinking about what comes in the future. Who is the brightest, student who they are going to hire someday, and how can they go ahead and get to know them and better prepare them for the future?
So take me to this weekend now, and let's talk about what you're doing, which I really love. It's not just a mentor program. It's not just talking about, you're actually getting involved and creating.
Yes. So Build It Forward is our longest running event. This will be our 13th annual and our biggest ever. So what we do, part of our program is, learning about the construction industry. So we want to put tools in the hands of our young people. So that's really where it originated. But if we're going to have young people using tools and building something, we might as well put that to good use. So what is something that we can build that those around us need? And this is our second year where we will be building the twin-size beds to give to the Houston Furniture Bank. So those students getting to see that, their mentors every week are giving their time. They can give their time too. Our time and our talent of being able to use power tools can help the world around us. It's not just money that we can give.
Right.
It's being a part of this community, and our mentors are showing that to our students every week. And now here's a chance for our students to do that too, all while learning how to use power tools. So a win-win.
Yeah, and they work side by side. So walk us through what they'll be doing.
Yes.
I'm already scared about power
You're
tools and kids'
You're saying power tools. Talk to us about this.
Yes, we've done this before. We do it in a very safe environment. We have build team leaders who are people who've done this for many years and are very good at using tools. Mostly it'll be power drills. So we're going to teach them how to do that. We're going to teach them how to do it safely. They're going to have all the protective equipment on that they need. But yes, putting a bunch of power drills into the hands of 14 to 18-year-olds, a little bit daunting, but it's a very controlled environment, and everything we do, it has that teaching and mentoring element behind it. So we make sure to do it really safely. They have checkpoints in their build plans to make sure the builds are not something that someone's going to get on in the future and it will break. So we do have quality control.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking, of the crazy IKEA bookshelf that nobody can ever build and you put together. It's like, this will help. This will help them.
Absolutely. We did get a few tips from the Houston Furniture Bank last year. If we change this or tweak this, it would be even better. But a lot goes into the planning of it. We've got an incredible committee of volunteers who, I'm the only paid person with the organization. This is really volunteer, mentor driven. And they've done a great job of putting together those build plans to make sure we have a good set in front of us.
I'm assuming since it's Saturday, you've already got the people in place that are going to be doing. If you're listening right now, you probably don't need new volunteers. You probably don't have room for new students, or am I wrong?
We are beyond full.
Okay.
And that is the first time I've ever truly been able to say that. So it's a really special time for our organization to see this kind of growth. Coming out of COVID a couple of years ago, our program was at the smallest it ever was. Our big thing is personal relationships, which are hard to do over Zoom, although we do still try to do that too. So now, just 3 to 4 years later, to have over 500 students sign up for our program, we are so excited and just trying to keep up. It's incredible.
How many students go on from your program to actually receive degrees within these areas?
I couldn't give you a perfect number on that, just because everyone's pathway looks different, and we're not necessarily pushing full degrees. It's certificates, it's pre-apprenticeship programs, It's a little bit of everything. What we have found is that those who stay in touch with their mentors and vice versa, those who stay plugged in with what we do, we have alumni programming, they are much more likely to do so, which just goes to show personal relationships really do matter, and ACE is making that happen.
Over on YouTube, we have, "This is so cool. We need more architects and engineers in the world." Because as you said, they design it and they build it for us so we can live in it. I'm curious, the other end of it is what you see from these students when you do this kind of work. They're creating something they don't necessarily know who it's going to. They don't get to see the life through of it, but they know that they're involved in something beyond just building a bed.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're trying to show them that giving back is important. You can't have community unless you're willing to take part in that. We also know, our program, it's a free after school program. There's no GPA requirements to join us. We don't turn anyone away unless we fill up, which we have had to do this year. That said, it might even be that some of our students fall in that demographic of students who may be working with the Houston Furniture Bank. So I think it's especially important for everyone to see, no matter who you are, what you do, there's a way for you to help in your community.
What schools are you all in?
So we don't limit to just one school. That's a little bit different than how, it's a national organization. Some affiliates do it differently. This year we have over 100 high schools represented in the number throughout our student body.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so we have 8 locations. We go all the way up to Spring, out to the west side in A-Leaf. So the major districts would be HISD, A-Leaf, Spring, Galena Park, we've got a location there, or Aldine, so the Sci-Fair area. So yeah.
We talk about the Build It Forward event, but talk about what goes on all year long. What are the events you're doing? What do the students get involved with throughout the year?
Yeah, great question. So this Build It Forward is just one small piece of what we do. So we, throughout the rest of the year, our after school mentoring program, it's a 16-week program for our high school students to come meet with their mentors for 2 hours each week and learn about the industry. So they're meeting with people, hearing about what it is they do, and hopefully catching on to some of that passion of, maybe I had no idea what I wanted to be after high school. And now I found something that I'm excited about. Or I've known my whole life I want to be an architect or an engineer, and I found someone who can help me and guide me in the right direction. My path, similar. I started architecture school, and no one needed me to be an architect in this world. I'm an engineer through and through. And had I had ACE, maybe I wouldn't have wasted that time and that money and been able to find a more direct path.
So would you classify yourself now as an engineer?
I'm a structural engineer. I'm a registered professional engineer. I started mentoring with this program my very first year working in the industry. So I started as a mentor, rose up a little bit because a mentor of mine, she sits on my board, she helped me along the way. She helped me find what I was passionate about. And I think that's just such a case study of what this organization would do. Yes, she would have loved had I stayed and kept working with her in engineering. However, now I get to work alongside her and bring her so many more engineers that I couldn't have done, while I was doing something else.
What's it like working with the students?
It's incredible.
Is there a passion there from them?
Oh my goodness. It's why I changed my entire career, because I fell in love with working with them and seeing their passion and hearing their ideas and just their excitement for what comes next. This is such a pivotal time for them, and they could be more prepared, right? If they had people in their corner willing to make those connections with them and listen and just help them with a path forward.
Yeah.
Wow. Amy Hufnagel is the executive director of the ACE Mentor Program Houston. Amy, what a cool organization. Thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you so much for having me.
Build those beds.
We can't wait.
Coming up, we're going to continue discussing today's top headlines. We'll also have our current obsession, so be sure to send yours in. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Listening to the news can feel like a journey, and 1A is the place for daily conversation that guides you beyond the headlines. We bring together thoughtful guests and listeners from every state to help us take the pulse of America. I'm Jen White. We'll get to the heart of the story together on 1A.
"1A", weekdays at 2 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from Specs Wines, Spirits, and Finer Foods. February is Wine Month, providing a range of wine for gatherings and celebrations all month long. More at Specs.com. Specs, the fun starts here.
Nice sunny day today. We'll get up to about 63. Clear skies tonight, a low 48. And looking ahead for tomorrow, another nice day, a little bit warmer, the high getting up to 76. It's 59. This is your NPR station, KUHF. Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, a large sinkhole has led to the closure of every eastbound lane on I-10 East Freeway, causing delays for many Houston drivers. We'll discuss the latest on this story and more on today's top headlines. I'm Celestia Sherman.
And I'm Ernie Manous. We'll also talk with former ESPN and CityCast Houston broadcaster Raheel Ramzanali, who will break down all things Super Bowl, including those new commercials.
Plus, we'll also discuss the latest things taking over all our free time for our regular Thursday feature, Current Obsessions. And, as always, we want to know yours.
That's right. Give us a call or text us right now at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Remember, you can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org and clicking the purple box.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. President Trump delivered a part pro-religion and part campaign speech at the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, D.C. this morning. NPR's Franco Ordonez has more.
Trump says religion is back and, quote, hotter than ever, while boasting that he's the greatest supporter of the faith community among modern-day presidents. But much of his speech was classic off-script remarks, where he riffed of his accomplishments and lashed out at political enemies, like Republican Congressman Thomas Massey of Kentucky, who Trump called a, quote, moron who always voted against House legislation.
There's something wrong with him. We call him Rand Paul Jr., it's like they just vote no.
It's the sixth time Trump has addressed the annual faith-based breakfast, which brings together lawmakers from both parties, as well as some global leaders. Franco Ordonez, NPR News.
Officials in Minnesota say the drawdown of 700 federal immigration officials is a good beginning, but that much more needs to be done. Border Czar Tom Homan says further withdrawals depend on local cooperation. NPR's Meg Anderson reports.
Homan zeroed in on the cooperation of sheriffs who often hold undocumented immigrants for ICE in their jails. In Hennepin County, where Minneapolis is located, the sheriff's office already holds people temporarily for ICE if federal agents have a signed judicial warrant. They do not honor administrative detainers, which is when ICE asks a jail to hold someone but doesn't have that warrant signed by a judge. But Hennepin County Sheriff Dewana Witt told NPR she's considering changing that policy.
If that were to change, and that's a if, right? You're going to have to show me how it's going to make Hennepin County residents safer, and you're going to have to actually act good on what you say.
Witt says she has had, quote, healthy conversations with Homan and expects them to continue. Meg Anderson, NPR News, Minneapolis.
A top Chinese official says Beijing's against foreign interference in Cuba. NPR's Emily Fang reports.
In an oblique reference to the U.S.'s ousting of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, China's Wang Huning, who was on the party's elite standing committee, said Beijing was against all foreign interference in Cuba. In return, Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel thanked China for its, quote, selfless assistance. The Trump administration has been blocking most oil imports to Cuba, saying it's a national security threat. That's caused the United Nations Security General Antonio Guterres to warn of a potential humanitarian crisis as energy stocks run low on the island. China's been critical of the U.S.'s involvement in both Venezuela and Cuba. Cuba and China are both run by communist officials, and China's top leader Xi Jinping met with Cuba's Diaz-Canel twice last year. Emily Fang, NPR News.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. The Texas Education Agency has hired an inspector general to investigate a growing number of schools and teachers under state scrutiny. Some of those investigations will be related to comments made after the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Other investigations will be based on the large number of anti-ICE protests popping up around the state. Levi Fuller is the first inspector general for educator misconduct. He previously worked in the Texas Attorney General's office and was chief of staff for Republican State Representative Andy Hopper. Governor Greg Abbott spoke about his efforts to curtail protests during a stop in Houston.
If kids are skipping class, going out protesting, those schools are not going to be paid for that day for those students who are skipping class. It's the responsibility of the superintendent, the principals, and the educators to make sure those children are in school getting the education they're supposed to be getting.
The TEA has warned schools to crack down on protests during school hours or face possible sanctions. Texas is struggling to recover from disasters because of a construction worker shortage. That's according to the latest findings from the Home Depot Foundation. 75% of Texans report challenges with rebuilding or long-term recovery, a direct result of the skilled labor shortage. Here's William Porter, Director of Long-Term Recovery at Team Rubicon, a disaster recovery nonprofit.
It's difficult at times, both immediate after a disaster and also in certain locations to get qualified contractors to do the work.
According to the Home Depot Foundation, for every 5 tradespeople in the construction industry who retire, only 2 are qualified to take their place. It's been nearly 5 years since a generational winter freeze swept through Texas, leaving millions of residents without power or heat for days, including in Houston. We want to hear from you about your experience during Texas's 2021 winter storm. Share your thoughts, photos, videos, or voice memos with us at houstonpublicmedia.org/news tips. We may use your submission for an upcoming story. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance, home of the Name Your Price tool, so drivers can see coverage options at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Price and coverage match limited by state law. And the listeners who support this NPR station.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back. And, I don't know if you said at the top of the show, what day is today?
February 5th. Today is February 5th, 2026.
I'm wondering, people writing less and less checks. That was where I always had to remember what the day of the week was. I wonder if people really are engaged with what is the date. I go long periods of time without really having to be concerned with that.
Well, I would think absolutely, because you have meetings and appointments.
But I know day of the week. It's Thursday, it's Wednesday, it's Monday. But in my regular walking through life, I don't know that, like in the past when you had to write out a check or you had to sign something with the date, I never know what date it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've gotten the year wrong before writing that out.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like every day I know exactly the date. I have, maybe it's because with kids, you have sports games, you have so many things that fall on specific dates. Pianos on Tuesday, but then it might be canceled on the 14th or, that kind of thing. So I'm navigating multiple calendars.
Yeah.
So it's like I have to know the date.
Yeah. Well,
You're just
anyway, what about
navigating.
you? Are you navigating multi? Do you keep up on what day it actually is? Not what day of the week, but the actual date. Let us know. Drop that over in our YouTube group on YouTube. Also, we're talking about what's coming up in this hour. We're going to be doing our current obsessions, and we need you to contribute. We want to know what your current obsessions are. I see some coming in already. I'm not going to read them yet. We're going to save them for current obsessions. And Celeste has been teasing me about her current obsession. I'm dying to find out what it is, but I still don't know. We'll be sharing those later in the show. If you want to share yours, you can text or call us at 713-440-8870. You can email them to us at talk@hellohouston.org. Or if you're following us on YouTube, just put it in the chat and they'll gather them up for us a little later in the show.
Yeah. And before we get into this hour's top headlines, we were talking about in the first hour of Hello Houston how the Houston Chronicle reports that the Houston Association of Realtors has halted a 2-year effort to publish detailed flood risk information on thousands of home listings across the state. And we've got a lot of engagement. It seems like people felt pretty strongly that there needs to be more transparency.
Yeah, very rarely are we very unified across the board on a topic, and this one seems to be pretty much the concept they're all in favor of. Where we're seeing a shift is how exactly are they getting this information? How is it being applied? But the idea that if we know something, we should be sharing it when selling a piece of property.
Right. And the two questions that I ask, and you are welcome to join us at 713-440-8870 are, would knowing a home's flood risk up front change your decision to buy or sell a house? And do you think that that kind of information should be required on real estate listings? Also, is flood risk data a consumer protection or an unfair red flag? We want to hear how this would affect you as a buyer, seller, or renter. 713-440-8870.
A comment we had on YouTube, it was a text actually that came in. I bought my house in 1978 near Alameda Mall. The realtor acted like we were crazy to ask if there was a 100-year flood plain. Next year, a tropical storm rained out over the Houston area. We ended up taking out our canoe, going over to Sagmont to take people out of their flooded homes.
Sagemont.
It's not.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think, this is the issue, is flooding is so destructive to infrastructure. And so that is something that it feels like absolutely. The information should be there. It should be being updated regularly. Real estate agents from the seller and the buyer should be putting out that information. I think the big question becomes again, where does responsibility fall? And should it be falling on search engines?
It also brings up the point we were talking about earlier that regardless of how it is zoned right now, how it is viewed, with all the construction and shifting and plane movement and all of that, you could get flooded even if you're in your place that is not a floodplain. And if you are in a floodplain, you may not get flooded. Yeah. So, just always be aware. That's a good place to start in all of this. And make sure you've got a good realtor. Not to endorse any particular one, but check with your realtor. Check with other people that have used that realtor to feel what their experiences were, because this person has been empowered to help you make probably one of the largest financial decisions you're going to make in your lifetime, buying a home. So make sure you know who you're working with.
I think that for me, I always just think about that first-time buyer, that young family, or perhaps it's an older person who's really waited for a long time to make this type of investment. And sometimes when you're doing something for the first time, you just don't know what are the questions to ask. Now, as somebody pointed out on YouTube, obviously in our area, that should be one of the things that is on top of everybody's mind.
Yeah.
Ask about those questions. But again, 713-440-8870.
I just believe you should buy a multi-floor house and don't do anything on the first floor. That way you'll be
just
up
move
there.
Everything
just move upstairs. Stay upstairs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a recap of what we did in the first hour. Now it's time to introduce more topics to get people talking.
This is such an interesting story. A massive sinkhole has shut down part of the East Freeway, creating a major traffic mess on Houston's east side. All eastbound lanes of I-10 are closed near Federal Road, just outside the 610 loop, with drivers being forced off the freeway at John Rolston Road. On the westbound side, one inside lane and the shoulder remain closed, but traffic is still moving. According to TxDOT, this was because of a major and massive sinkhole. Houston Public Works crews began pumping water out of the sinkhole and began conducting their assessment Wednesday evening, officials said. What are your thoughts on the sinkhole? What is the craziest road situation that you've had to deal with? We know that we have a lot of road situations in our area.
Yeah.
You can join us at 713-440-8870.
Sinkholes are one of those things I have an irrational fear of.
Really?
Like I always think about, I think when you see those videos, and I spend a lot of time scrolling and watching that stuff, and you see them just like open up nowhere, and you see things drop down in, and I'm like, oh my Lord. And you think about the infrastructure, how we have built our cities and our communities up on top of, and you wonder what actually, you see the video of like what's underneath Houston, and it's like 7 layers down, and there's all this stuff. So when there's emptiness and there's the moisture or the moist soil that we have and things can drop down or there's a shift, it scares me to no end.
I just maybe completely naive to sinkholes. They don't scare me. I always wonder if it's AI because it just looks so not real to me.
Well, some of them probably are that you see online.
I'm very skeptical. So the fact that we had one here in our area,
that was so large.
East Freeway, that was very large, is incredible. Did you watch the video? Have you seen the video of it, Ernie?
No, I haven't. Because it'll just upset me.
It's upsetting. I mean, yeah.
But I did also have an irrational fear growing up of quicksand, as we often talk about, and yet I have never encountered that in my life, nor do I think I ever will. When you were growing up, was quicksand something they always pushed on you like, oh my God?
I, growing up, used to have a recurring dream that I was stuck and sinking in quicksand, and this is the nightmarish part of it. I would yell out, but I couldn't. I forgot how to talk.
Oh, well, then we know it was a dream because in reality, we know that's not a problem. 713-440-8870, talking back about the flood and real estate is Karen from Southwest Houston. Karen, what's on your mind?
Yes, my daughter had purchased a home in Magnolia once. This was years ago, and on the forms it said that it never flooded. However, they had a heavy rain and it flooded. And then the neighbors all said, oh, yes, last time we had heavy rains like this, it flooded also. So they lied on the form.
Wow. Well, once again, it goes back, do your due diligence. Not only talk about who you're going to get as your realtor, talk to the neighbors of the property.
But I would imagine if somebody lied, a professional lied on a form or, back that, wouldn't you be able to sue the prior homeowner or the real estate agent that there was a falsified document?
Yeah. Karen, was there damage to the home?
Yes, there was damage, and there was damage to a lot of things, and the insurance says, okay, we need to see the original price you paid for this and how long ago it was. Did you have receipts? And it just wasn't even worth it, because there was no way to recreate all of that. Right. But like you're saying, there probably should have been a lawsuit against the realtor and the previous owner.
Well, sorry to hear that story, Karen,
that is
but
terrible.
Thank you for sharing with us today. Yeah, it is. I mean, I think across the board, there's a problem in our culture today with truthfulness. And I think it needs to be across the board. We have to be able to rely on information we're given and the people who give it to us on all levels. And I just feel like right now, the world we live in, you've got to do your due diligence on everything.
Yes, but there's problems, societal problems, and there's also legal issues of falsification of a document, of somebody lying on that is a professional licensed real estate agent. That to me is not a matter of, we need to just be better. That is like, this person should have their license revoked because at the end of the day, who knows how many more people they're doing that to.
Right.
And this poor family was stuck with a bag of lemons when they were lied to. I don't know.
Our number one contributor as of today, my British computer guy, says they really should put it up, but, and this is talking about the information about the flooding on the real estate information, put an asterisk next to it with a disclaimer saying flood risk data is not 100% accurate. Good point there. Do you want to read Earl Grey Tea-Cat?
Sure. It's not an irrational fear, Ernie.
We're talking about those sinkholes.
At county in at what is it? I don't understand what he's saying here.
In Beatt County,
Beatt
there
County.
was a deputy.
Go ahead, Ernie. Just read it, please.
Okay. Who died after their car fell into a sinkhole while driving. The sinkhole had mud, dirt, water, and sewage, and they drowned. It was so tragic. So you're not irrationally fearful of them. I'm scared of them too. Yeah, join me in my fear, Earl Grey. It is. And when I say that, I think more the irrational fear is I think they're just going to open up in front of me every time I go out into public. But the point is, when they are there, they are dangerous. Don't take it lightly.
No, absolutely. I've seen sinkholes that have happened in Florida where 2 little boys, I believe, passed away, and we see this. It is very real. This other YouTube commenter says there was a sinkhole that was in Liberty County a few years ago due to a salt dome collapse.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're out
Real
there.
stuff.
Be careful. I don't know how you protect yourself
How you
from
can
it. Just
see that.
always be aware of your surroundings and don't do foolish things. Okay, you ready for another story?
Yes.
This one, it falls right into my wheelhouse. President Trump is calling for what he describes as the nationalization of voting, escalating his push to involve the federal government more directly in elections ahead of the 2026 midterms. In a podcast interview earlier this week, Trump repeated unproven claims that people, quote, in the U.S. illegally, unquote, are voting and urging Republicans to take over elections in at least 15 states. A day later, speaking at the White House, Trump said that if states cannot run elections properly, federal officials should step in. Under the Constitution, states, not the White House, set and administer election rules through Congress, though Congress can regulate certain aspects of federal elections. What are your thoughts? Should elections be nationalized, or is this way off base?
Well, I mean, if we're just looking at this from a strictly party type situation, usually Republicans want more state control and less government control. And this feels very much like an overreach within just what a conservative Republican would want.
Yeah. I do want to also point out, using the term nationalizing elections, actually in a political sense, that's voter behavior aligning with a national party patterns across the races. But that's not how he's using the term. He's using the term as a proposal or rhetoric to transfer election control from states to the federal level. Right. And that's where it becomes dangerous. But he's using the term. I just wanted to make sure people realize that he's
And again,
using the term differently.
713-440-8870.
Yeah. To also point out that the Constitution gives primary authority to the states to administer elections, including voting procedures, registration, polling places, ballot design, how votes are counted, and election certification. The federal government does have some rules when it comes to congressional elections. They have the authority over federal elections for federal offices, U.S. House, Senate, and President, but only in certain restricted areas. So they can set the time, place, and manner of how these elections are run. So there is some wiggle room in it, and I'm assuming, as often is the case, he's looking for the space where he can move in and take hold. So
713-440-8870.
Yeah, it is bothersome to me. I think also it goes back to my issue of we continue to create a problem that doesn't exist. And the more we talk about it, the more people tend to believe it is truly a problem. Where the bottom line is there fraudulent elections? There has been fraud, but nowhere near the level that has influenced the outcome of an election. There have been audits, there have been investigations, and what we have found time and time again is that the grand totals of these votes have reflected the will of the people. This idea that it's a huge problem and needs interference or correction, I think we're in a very difficult spot right now.
Let's go to the phone lines. Alan from Texas City is on the line. Alan, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
I'm just thinking this is just another blatant attempt for Trump to take over the primaries and the midterm elections. I remember that when he was running, he said, if you elect me again, you will never have to vote again. And I believe that was not a joke. He meant it. And he's doing everything he can to make it happen.
Thank you very much for those comments, Alan. 713-440-8870. Let's see what Robert thinks from Kingwood. Robert, what's on your mind?
Well, to me, it's not important what I think. What I want to know, two questions to both politicians that are incumbent in this next upcoming election, and those that are running for, say, county commissioner, what do they feel about the GOP federalizing elections? And more important, how do they feel about ICE detentions being built in, say, Harris County, and what stance are they going to take? Again, it's not important what I think. It's more important what our current politicians and the ones that are running for office think. That's really what's important.
And to follow on that, even though we are talking about problems with voting, get out and vote. Take a look at what your different candidates stand for and make sure you vote for candidates, for politicians that support the ideals and beliefs that you hold true to yourself. And oftentimes, I think this is a good point to say, is we never talk about this much. So many of these politicians go out and do town halls, those that are in office and those that are running for office. And these are opportunities for voters and potential voters to come out and question them about these policies. As we were talking about homeownership, we're also talking about voting. It's do your due diligence. Make sure that we're electing the people we need into office. I told you this was on my wheelhouse, and I was going to get up on my soapbox about it.
713-440-8870. Let's go to Aaron from Katy. Aaron, welcome to Hello Houston.
Yes, I would like to say that it's just really disappointing that this is being proposed by the president. I think we've done fine leaving elections in the hands of the states. As long as it's been that way, there hasn't been any real evidence of election fraud, widespread election fraud. So it just makes me wonder what is the aim here, especially coming from a party, the party of small government. So just makes you really want to question the motives there.
Thank you very much for doing that. And remember, in all of this conversation, even those issues that the federal government gets to decide when it comes to the election of Congress members and the president, that needs to be voted on by Congress. It's not something that can be pushed forward by an edict from the White House. So if the president says we're going to do this, he doesn't have that authority. It has to go through Congress. So keep that in mind as we chat this one through.
713-440-8870. Yeah, there's a lot there.
There is a lot there. But again, don't just take it as rhetoric that's coming out. We have to believe the things we are told because so many of those become the reality we're living in. So if you don't agree with it, make sure you vote. We've got a primary coming up in March. Make sure you get out there and make sure your voice is heard.
Yes, but coming up on Hello Houston, former ESPN and CityCast Houston broadcaster Raheel Ramzanali will break down all things Super Bowl.
Super Bowl?
Including the new commercials. This is News 88.7.
President Trump says it's time.
Houston, say hello to the Ride Metro Fare Card. It's the new way to ride. The Ride Metro fare system will replace the old Metro Q fare card and will make buying your bus and train fares easier than ever before. Visit ridemetro.org/fare system.
Epstein files reveal the identities of some survivors. That's all next time on 1A.
We'll have that for you coming up at 1 o'clock here on News 88.7.
Organizers of this year's Winter Olympics pledged that these games would be more sustainable, but local environmental groups are concerned about the changes to the sensitive mountain ecosystem.
Instead of Queen of the Dolomites, as Cortina likes to be known, why don't we call her the Queen of Cement?
The environmental toll of artificial snow and new construction, on All Things Considered from NPR News.
And we'll have local and statewide news with Gail DeLauner to go along with that, starting at 3 o'clock. And right after,
unemployment is up a bit. For some, though, it's up more than for others. The economic lessons to be learned from black unemployment next time on Marketplace.
6:30 this evening, followed by the Daily at 7 o'clock.
Support comes from Base Power. As hurricane season approaches, Base Power offers energy plans to Texans with home backup for outages and fixed energy rates. Eligibility details at basepowercompany.com/NPR.
My name is Michael Lawson, Houston Market President of St. Luke's Health, a member of Common Spirit Health. Access to quality information is vital for healthy communities to thrive. That's why St. Luke's Health is a proud supporter of Houston Public Media.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
Super Bowl 60 is this Sunday, and even though our Houston Texans didn't make it all the way this year, the matchup between the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks will be exciting nonetheless. So what can we expect from this year's big game? Is this the start of another New England dynasty? Can people still be excited for the Super Bowl commercials with all the buildup and previews that have already aired way before the game this week? And what can we expect from Bad Bunny's halftime performance? Can I even call it controversial already? To discuss, we welcome former ESPN and CityCast Houston broadcaster Raheel Ramzanali to Hello Houston. Raheel, welcome.
Hey, how are y'all? Thank you for having me on.
So before we get into the commercials and the entertainment and kind of Super Bowl culture, I want to talk sports for a second. And I got to just ask you, Seattle's top-ranked defense, is it going to have any effect on New England's offensive game plan?
I think it will. I think Seattle's defense is one of the best in the NFL. Last time I joined y'all, we were talking about the Texans and how they have a Super Bowl caliber defense, and the Seahawks were right there. I mean, literally, there were 1A and 1B, and sure enough, they also had an offense that was capable of getting them to the Super Bowl in addition to that defense. I think that defense is fast, it's physical, and I think they are going to create all sorts of problems for Drake May and the Patriots, and I think they end up winning that game. I don't know if I was supposed to give my prediction, but that's how I'm feeling right now.
Yes, but I've got to say the Patriots mounted one of the biggest turnarounds in the league to get here. So this could be a big upset or a big win for the Patriots, essentially. What does that say about their culture and their coaching? Is it one of those things where it's like they're back?
They are back. And Mike Vrabel was such a good hire after Bill Belichick left. It wasn't the best for the Patriots. They were having some rough seasons. And Mike Vrabel, who was with the Titans, was also with the Houston Texans as well as a coordinator. And when he was here, I was all about hiring him as the successor to Bill O'Brien, because there's something about Mike Vrabel and how he resonates with the players, the culture that he creates, what he's learned from Bill Belichick and his time with the Patriots dynasty. And he found the right role, right? And going back home to the Patriots, it has worked out, and it has been one of the cool turnarounds in sports. I'm mad, though, because they only had, a season and a half of downturn? That's not fair, and they're back in the Super Bowl. Can we get some of that over here in Houston? We just want one appearance, and here they are back again.
I was going to say, this is a rematch of Super Bowl 49, right?
Yes.
And we've seen these franchises have been in this spot, in this place before. But talk about how you think that they've changed since that iconic game, Super Bowl 49.
That iconic game, it was one of the biggest collapses in Super Bowl history, if not the biggest, when the Seahawks had a chance to win that game under 30 seconds left, and they don't give the best running back the ball. Marshawn Lynch at the time, all he had to do was get, I think it was 2 yards or 2.5 yards, and instead Russell Wilson threw a pick, and that was it. The game was over, and they're different now. That team was more offensive-led, the Seahawks, and this current iteration is all about the defense. The Patriots, same thing. It was Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback alive, and this one is a balanced team. They also have a good defense, the Patriots do. They are just buying into what Mike Vrabel is selling, and this is like a legit team, right? Everyone does their job like they did in the dynasty years, and this is just going to be so much fun to watch, but I still think the Seahawks edge them out.
Ooh,
okay, I got a weird question for you.
Okay.
Clear the slate of everything. Just as you, as a sports enthusiast watching the game, if you could have picked two teams to play in this Super Bowl, just from the pure joy of seeing them go against each other, who would it have been?
Okay, I have to take the Texans. I can't, the kid in me seeing the franchise when I was in high school when they first started, I want to see my Houston Texans in the Super Bowl.
The Houstonian in you.
And who would they be up
me.
against?
I want to see that once in my lifetime.
We all
I just
do.
want to see a Houston team there.
Okay, that's 50% of the answer.
Okay.
Who's the other side?
The other half, man. I think the Seahawks are the best story on the other side of the bracket.
Yeah.
What they've done, Sam Darnold is such a good story as well. Started his career very rough, and it just wasn't working out. He was such a high draft pick. And for him to have this resurrection as well, the way the Seahawks have built back up, it is one of the best stories to me. And that would have been such a good matchup because, again, it goes back to that defense. The 1A, 1B, two really good defenses going at it. It would have been a blast. Although C.J. Stroud would have had even more issues because that defense is nasty.
And that's what I was going to say. So you're sticking with Seattle's defense that's going to decide the game.
Yeah, I think they are just so physical, so fast, and they just do their job. And I can't wait to see how they match up.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay, so many years ago, and I've referenced this book a bunch of times. It was by Brandon Tartikoff, a true television genius. He wrote a book called The Last Great Ride back in 1992. And he was talking about how the world would change with technology, and eventually we would be making appointment television of what we wanted to watch when we wanted to watch. And there would only be a couple of ideas, a couple of programs that would bring people together to watch in a single moment. Super Bowl is one of those moments, and so unique in the world of broadcasting today that people will actually all be witnessing something at the same time, watching it together. And I'm curious if you think that the decline of network television and broadcast is hurting or helping a moment like this for a program like this.
Oh, it's definitely helping. I mean, this is the highest rated sports broadcast. This is the one uniting broadcast that we have. I always measure it with my wife. Okay. So the reason I bring her up is she is a casual sports fan, right? I'm going to watch the Super Bowl. I'm going to watch the Rockets play the Mavericks, right? I like watching sports. But to me, when my wife is getting excited about something, that is my measure. And I think a lot of your listeners as well are in that category of, okay, it's the Super Bowl. I'm going to watch because this is a big event. This also has Bad Bunny, which we'll talk about in a second. It has the commercials that we all love. But this is the last uniting broadcast, it feels like. Even with the Olympics, we don't get that because the different sports, the different events, it's all fractured out. So
the time zone problems
at the same
too.
Time.
Yeah, the time zones, what's happening in what country at what time, that kind of. So Super Bowl really unites us. I was talking with Loretta Swit one time many years ago. She was on MASH, and she was talking about when the MASH finale aired, that in New York City they had a problem with the plumbing because everyone went to the bathroom at the same time.
Wow.
Super Bowl shifts that because of the commercials, because you don't want to walk away at that time. Before we get into that, Celeste's going to reset us here for a minute. I got carried. I'm just all excited. Sorry.
You're listening to Hello Houston. We want to hear from you too about your favorite either Super Bowl game or what you're looking forward to, what snacks you're bringing to the party. And we are speaking with Raheel Ramzanali about the weekend's upcoming match. 713-440-8870.
Yeah, I'm nuts. I know that right now. Okay, so talk about these commercials, and do they carry the same punch that they used to with so many of them being released ahead of time on YouTube and pre-airing?
They don't. I can't remember a commercial from last year's Super Bowl. I truly can't. I don't remember anything from 2 years ago, and I always go with my buddies to a watch party. We actually play a Super Bowl commercial bingo. So we have cards that we're looking at categories. We do a whole thing around it, and I can't remember one. I think the Super Bowl commercials, they hold less weight now. It's still appointment viewing because of the culture that's created around it. And I'm not sure, is it because I'm just getting older? We just don't care as much. Everything is already out there. I don't think my daughter, who's 10, she probably has no idea about a commercial from last year or a funny moment. I don't know. Is it just not as funny? But they just don't matter anymore.
But that's interesting because I was going to say, I think that what makes the Super Bowl so unique is that, and unifying, is that it has the secret sauce to a great television program. You have a winner and a loser, so you have sports, you have people that have skin in the game. You also have that entertainment value of the halftime show. And the commercials, it's kind of like that relief a little bit.
A full course meal of television.
Truly, it really is. It has almost everything. Every American can find something within the Super Bowl that they are looking forward to. And I think commercials are still one of those, Raheel, I've got to say.
They are fun to watch, but I'm just asking, what was a memorable commercial for you last year? Without using Google, without looking up anything, was there anything memorable? That's always my measuring stick is without using Google, tell me, do you remember? And if you don't, then it wasn't that memorable.
I want to say Dunkin' Donuts. It was Dunkin' Donuts with Ben Affleck.
Was that last year?
Yes, and Jen Affleck from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And they were like, are we related? And it was this whole kind of pop culture, very in the moment pop culture thing. It was around the time I think Ben and Jen were getting divorced, and Jen Affleck had said she was related to Ben Affleck. Anyway, I'm getting way too much into Jen Pop here.
Well, to support Raheel's comment, we have a comment on YouTube that says, last commercial I remember is the Budweiser "What's up" commercial.
What's
up? Right. But it's like, yeah, I see your point. We remember those moments. We remember Apple Computer one, but I don't remember the recent ones.
Do you think they've gotten too political, Raheel?
I don't think so. I can't remember a political commercial like really sticking out to me. We'll have candidates running. I know Tallarico's running a commercial here as well.
Interesting.
So like we'll have candidates running, but I don't remember them getting too political by any means. Look, companies are going to have certain messaging that they want, but I don't think that's the reason. I think the reason is because we already get a quick look at them beforehand. Everything is now built for social media in the digital era. Yeah. Back in the days with the "What's Up" and the Bud, Weiser, Frogs, Real Men of Genius, you had to stand out so you could have that water cooler moment.
Right. You had to see it when it happened. Yeah. Well, you talk about it being political or not being political. It's going to be less political. President Trump has said he is not attending because it's too far away, which I think is an interesting reason for not going. But that doesn't end the politics of it all, because even the halftime show has become extremely political this year.
Charged.
Not only is Bad Bunny performing, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, there is an alternate halftime show that is happening outside of the Super Bowl, which is more of the far right MAGA performers performing. Thoughts on that and what you know?
Yeah. First of all, Bad Bunny is going to make a political statement, and he's earned that right to make it. When you're the biggest performer on the planet, you just won a Grammy, you've built that platform, you can do whatever you want. And if somebody has a problem with that, then go do what Bad Bunny just did in the last 10 years. Build up your base, build up that performance side, build up that music, and then maybe one day you'll get to perform at the Super Bowl. Turning Point is doing their own show. There have been other ones popping up as well. Kid Rock is the big headliner who has become the #1 performer for the far right. I never would have seen that coming when I was growing up. And,
Never.
You know, Kid Rock was very popular. I didn't see that one coming. I'll just be honest.
Yeah.
But I guess they're gonna have their own show. But to me, Bad Bunny's gonna put on a great show. I love Bad Bunny. I don't know all the lyrics. I just love the vibes. I love his story. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what message he's going to send out there and how people are going to get upset. This is going to be the best day to be on social media to see people react. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, and just to clarify, too, it's the all-American halftime show that's being produced by Turning Point USA, which is running with Kid Rock as their headliner.
Right, which great concert if that's what you're into and that's what you like, but it's not sandwiched between a major football game.
Yeah.
That's, our National Football League, which also, to me, I'm kind of like, okay. Mr. Wright says, this might be the first Super Bowl I skip, not because of the halftime show. I just don't care about the teams, and I have been disappointed with Super Bowl commercials these past few years. Another person on our YouTube commented who said that they're tired of the Patriots being in the Super Bowl, that it's literally Earl Grey T-Cat says, I'm so tired of the Patriots being in there. Thoughts on that? You think that the Super Bowl with the Patriots and the commercials, it's kind of gotten tired? They need to figure something out?
Look, they had record viewership last year, right? The Super Bowl is still going to be popular. And I agree with some of the comments there. Like, the commercials aren't captivating to me. The Patriots fatigue is real. It was one of the big things when the Patriots dynasty was going on. And it was almost, even last year with the Chiefs, right? Like, I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs get there.
Yes.
And now we get the Patriots and Seahawks back. I think you should watch if you don't like the Patriots, because I think the Seahawks are going to win this game. So you're going to see some heartbreak, and you're going to see some Chowder fans really upset, which is going to be phenomenal as well. So I think you should watch, because I think the Patriots will lose. So you get that excitement of seeing them with some heartbreak.
Yeah, but some people might also say, sports fans would say, the Patriots haven't been in the Super Bowl like very recently.
Yeah, it's been a while. So, but you remember the dynasty, right?
Yeah,
and the fear is like, okay,
absolutely.
we just went through this, and how are they already back in? just shows you how great of a franchise they are, and they pull the right moves. And of course they have no Hall of Famers, right? Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick didn't get into the Hall of Fame because of the cheating scandals that happened during the dynasty years. But they're still a great franchise, and they're back in. It's incredible what they've done.
And just for confirmation, 2019, that was the last time they were at the Super Bowl. Also, we did get quite a few comments. Mr. Wright also says, FYI, Bad Bunny has 16 times more Spotify listeners than Kid Rock. Yeah, Kid Rock's like an old man now.
I think 1 million of them came from me. I just love putting on his albums. They're so great. And the political statement, he's gonna talk about ICE, right? He talked about it at the Grammys last week as well when he won multiple Grammys, and he's gonna make some sort of political statement. People are gonna get upset, and that's their right as well. Like, you have the right to be upset. But it's funny, people who are saying, like, I'm not gonna watch Bad Bunny are the ones who are going to get upset. So how did you find out? Like, why do you care then if you're not watching it?
So, it was interesting because if you did watch the Grammys, you saw Jelly Roll also won a Grammy, and he really went out there and talked about his faith and how, really preached about Jesus. Do you think there's any way that Bad Bunny will bring in a cameo? Somebody will come in from left field and perform with him? Or do you think this is going to be all his show?
No, somebody will come in for sure. There's always cameos, no matter how big you are. I'm not sure who it's going to be, how big that cameo is going to be. I haven't researched it because, again, I'm a Bad Bunny fan, so I want to be totally surprised.
Yeah. I am too.
Right? I just want to be excited about, like, oh my gosh, did he just bring Drake on? Why is Dua Lipa here, right? Because they have a very popular song. Yeah. So what if he brings one of those performers on? That'd be really cool to see.
What if it's Taylor Swift?
Oh my Lord!
I think Taylor's going to have to get her own Super Bowl.
Yes, most definitely. I'm also curious who you think is going to take it between Team Rough and Team Fluff over at the Puppy Bowl.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. I have taken out a second mortgage. Team Rough is the way. I'm putting everything I have on Team Rough. This is their comeback here.
They want to get that Lombardi trophy. So, the Puppy Bowl, I guess it's 22, is happening alongside the Super Bowl. For those of you who don't want to watch the football players play, you can watch the puppies play.
It's the best on Animal Planet. It's become a tradition in our house. My 3-year-old loves it. Even my 10-year-old. She's like, oh, look how cute this dog is. The problem with being a dad to 2 girls watching the Puppy Bowl is that we've got to adopt every single dog on there and cats and the referee. He's like, it's just so much fun. Maybe that's what, like, who's going to be the halftime performer for that? Is it Miss Rachel? Because that would be dope. I would watch Miss Rachel performing at halftime of the Puppy Bowl.
I'm going to check into that while you two chat.
Okay, well.
It's not Kid Rock, I don't think.
It's definitely not Kid Rock. But you know what? I will definitely be watching it. Again, you can join us at 713-440-8870. We want to hear about your plans. And we're going to also hear about your current obsession. So we want to thank Raheel Ramzanali. Thank you so much for joining us today on Hello Houston. It's always so fun to chat sports with you. And Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I really don't.
Wait. Thank you so much.
I don't have an answer for who's the entertainer. I think it's elderly puppies, 150 of them, but I'm not quite sure.
Coming up, we're going to discuss our current obsessions. Some of you might be obsessed with the Super Bowl. You don't know. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
I'm Jeremy Hobson.
Houston, say hello to the Ride Metro Fare Card. It's the new way to ride. The Ride Metro Fare system will replace the old Metro Q fare card and will make buying your bus and train fares easier than ever before. Visit ridemetro.org/fare system.
What is the middle class in 2026, and is it still achievable? That's our question next time on The Middle.
That's tonight at 8, followed by the encore of Houston Matters at 9 on News 88.7.
Trump is the first president to make so much money off of the White House for himself and his family. Money that actually goes into his own pocket.
On the next Planet Money, the Trump family business deals that likely would not have happened if Trump wasn't the president. And on How I Built This, the co-founder of Warby Parker sets his sights on fresh business ideas with 2 up-and-coming entrepreneurs. That's on the next Planet Money and How I Built This from NPR.
That's Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, then stick around for Wait, Don't Tell Me at 10.
Houston Matters highlights the people, places, issues, and ideas that define Greater Houston. And we do it live on the air weekday mornings at 9 on News 88.7. But we know you're not always available then to listen. So subscribe to our podcast wherever you get yours, or find each day's program to stream online at your leisure at houstonpublicmedia.org. And reach out with questions or comments anytime. Email us at talk@houstonmatters.org.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Metro, introducing the Ride Metro Fare Card. The Ride Metro Fare system replaces the Metro Q Fare Card for bus and rail fares. Details at ridemetro.org/fare system.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, a night of mystery and intrigue with Father Brown at 7, followed by the Sister Boniface Mysteries at 8, and Death in Paradise at 9. Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
And it's that time. On Thursdays, we dive into our current obsessions. This is a rundown of things that are currently taking over all of our free time, taking up our thoughts. And we want to hear your current obsessions. What are you currently obsessed? What's taking up your time? Give us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870. Before we jump into Ernie and I's obsession for this week, one of the top trending items right now on X is Bad Bunny. And
Never
we just
heard of
talked
him.
about it. We were just talking to Raheel about Bad Bunny's halftime show, and that he's having a moment for sure.
Well, we put in a poll.
Deservingly.
We put in a poll on YouTube asking who will win the Super Bowl, Patriots or Seahawks, and the response was 42% are watching for Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
Then Seahawks were 33%, Patriots 17%, and I don't know, I'm just happy I'm off work is 8%, but it's a Sunday. Most people are off work.
And we have been receiving emails and texts, and we want to thank you all for those. Greetings to Ernie and everyone on Hello Houston. I've never written before, so I'm not sure how much or how little to write. I'm almost 68, finally retired in August of 2025, and now I finally have time to sew. I've been literally obsessed with going to quilting stores to pick out fabric as well as ordering online. I love that. She's picked up a hobby. Good for you.
Yeah.
And congratulations on retirement.
And if you're sewing, I've got some socks that need darning.
I would love to have time to sit down and sew because I have to get all of my pants hemmed.
Oh, yeah, because you're tiny.
So I could really learn how to.
I have to get mine hemmed too because I'm not tiny, but I'm short. So that's the problem. That's great. My British computer guy says my newest current obsession is Steel. It's a heist TV show on Prime. So good. I like this part. Only 6 episodes, so very binge-worthy.
And we received an email from Jen who says, my current obsession is a series of novels called Heaven's Official Blessing. When you guys were talking about that hockey show, it reminded me that there was a BL series I had forgotten about due to being busy and middle-aged. LOL. Thank you so much for your show.
We had another current obsession that came in from Ma3412. My current obsession is the electric drum set my wife got me for my birthday. I'd forgotten how good for the soul creative hobbies can be. And
100%.
how I'm terrible. When my brother was married and had a stepson, and for Christmas I bought him a drum set just so it could be noisy in the house because I'm evil that way.
Current obsession from Nicole Joe says, I'm making friendship making friendship bracelets and watching lots of movies. Prep for Oscars.
Yeah, Oscars are coming up. Okay, Celeste, you had been hinting. Oh, Celeste is showing her bracelets.
I'm showing my bracelets. I got these at the Girl Scout event last night, and they are made, and they say Happy Mardi Gras.
Yeah, they got the Mardi Gras colors on them, too. Okay, so you'd been teasing. You had a current obsession you were dying to share with us, so I'm here. I'm attentive. Do tell.
Okay, so there was a reality show, I think it's in its 3rd season now, called Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Yes.
And it was this young group of moms out of Utah that are all Mormon. I think some are practicing, some are not, but grew up within the Mormon church. And they had mom talk, and it was very scandalous and controversial. And it started as a reality. It's on TikTok, and it started now as a reality show. one of the villain in the first season,
The
Whitney
villain.
Levitt, has now been. She was on Dancing with the Stars, and she just had her debut on Broadway.
That is crazy.
On the Broadway show Chicago. And I would love to get your thoughts, because as somebody who I would say is very well versed, expert level, you could give a master class in Broadway and theater. Your thoughts on a reality show star getting picked up on Broadway?
I will say, and I do not know, I have not seen her in that role. I have not seen her talents, so I don't know. I am concerned in the fact it's one of the two leads in Chicago, a very strong dance and singing show.
Yes. So I'm going to pause you there, because it was very controversial when she got the gig on Dancing with the Stars, because she studied dance. So she was a dance major in college.
Okay.
And a lot of people thought that was very unfair. And she talks about it on the show, but she has 3 kids. She's married. She was not practicing. She became a reality star, did Dancing with the Stars, and then through that got Chicago.
Right. I just, for all of the theater people that have worked so hard, so long, honing their craft. Now, Chicago is known for stunt casting. They have done that a lot. In the Mama Morton character and in the lawyer character, they often put TV or reality stars in those positions. To put someone in the lead performer, I'm assuming she has to be good enough to carry that. Of course, they want a name there. That show is the longest running show on Broadway, if I'm not mistaken, at this point.
It is.
And they always need to revive and get new reasons for people to buy tickets. So if it's turning a profit for them, God bless them. But is she giving a Broadway caliber performance? I would hope so. I don't know offhand.
So stunt casting, and then we can move on to your obsession. Stunt casting, do you think that this is Chicago's very smart marketing to get a whole new group of young women and fans interested in Broadway?
Absolutely. There is an economic benefit to putting in a recognizable name, as we call them, into a show. And if you can pull someone from a different group that maybe isn't used to going to Broadway, and then these folks are in New York and they recognize a name on the marquee, and so they buy a ticket and they see a Broadway show, that's a great thing, because it's building the audience for Broadway. So I'm in favor of that.
TikTokers.
Yeah. But as long as they have the talent, don't put them in if they can't do it, because it ends up doing the opposite effect. You go and see a show, it's not a Broadway caliber show, you may not plunk down that money again to see another one if it's a misstep. That's why they usually do what I call stunt casting in those smaller roles that aren't that heavily intensive for singing, or they're kind of walking into a character.
Yeah, no, she's Roxy Hart, but just to put a cap on that, she's getting rave reviews.
Then God bless her.
All right, talk to me about your
obsession. Mine is much older. I'm obsessed again with the
Again.
old series Newhart, the Bob Newhart show that was on in the 80s from 82 to 90. And the weird thing is, it's not streaming anywhere, but somebody has captured them all and put them on YouTube, so you can watch all, I think, 192 episodes or something on YouTube. It was the show, you may not remember when we're talking, but when I say it featured Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. Hi, my name is Larry. This is my brother Daryl and my other brother Daryl, that became a sensation in the 80s. That was fun. It's on. I have been watching it again, and I just love that show. There's a quirkiness to it. I've been watching it every night and just loving it again. So I'm obsessed with that.
And we do have a call, 713-440-8870. Valerie from Missouri City. What is your current obsession, Valerie? Welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, I am totally obsessed with shoe-bill storks. They're like a kind of bird. They're 5 feet tall. They have 8-foot wingspan. They have these huge, cute beaks that look like shoes. They're just adorable, and everybody should look them up online.
What is it called again? It's a stork?
The two-billed
It's a
stork.
Shoe-bill stork. Like shoe, like on your foot.
Shoe-bill.
Shoe.
Well,
shoe.
Well,
Shoe
Valerie, we're going to have to
bill
look that up, and we
stork.
want to thank you
Oh
for
my
calling.
God, that's a weird-looking bird.
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
Isn't
and
it the cutest thing ever?
Are they really that
Oh my
big
gosh.
as they look online, or is this a
Yes.
joke?
No, they're 5 feet tall. 5 feet tall.
Well, thank you for that. I think I have a new obsession. Sorry, Bob Newhart. I'm moving on.
To the shoe build. Valerie, how did you come across this bird?
I saw a picture of it and I thought it was fake, so I looked it up and it's not fake. So now I just can't stop watching reels of shoe-billed stork.
It's also known as the whale-headed stork or the whale-bill stork.
Valerie, thank you for calling in, and we want to thank you for emailing us and texting us your current obsessions. This is one of our fun segments, and we appreciate you. But unfortunately, we have run out of time. We want to thank you for watching and listening to Hello Houston. We will be back tomorrow with more conversations. We're also going to hear my latest installment of Cold Coffee, in which I sit down with Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo. This is News 88.7. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from Theater Under the Stars and the Broadway musical $1 Million Quartet, featuring the music of Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Carl Perkins. February 17th through March 1st at the Hobby Center. Tickets at tuts.org.